rant today over at my daily rant over at HartmannReport.com is titled, "What if every American's home was a power plant?" And I start out by pointing out that, here in little tiny Oregon, a decade ago, the entire state, 300 electric vehicles were purchased. Last year it was 12,000. They're growing like weeds here. Tesla's the #1 brand, with Chevy, the Chevy Bolt, I guess, close behind. And Oregon drivers who have bought electric vehicles are paying about half of what they would pay if they were using gasoline to get to work every day. But what if that home's electricity wasn't just generated in a faraway dam or power plant, but what if it was generated on our own rooftops? The Build Back Better bill is still on hold. It's the bigger part of Joe Biden's agenda, and it's got most of the climate change stuff in it. But the BIF bill, the bipartisan infrastructure bill that got passed on Friday, actually has $73 billion for grid upgrades in our power systems. And it creates an agency, a federal agency, that kind of oversees all this. And I see this as having incredible potential. Back in September of 2009, I was invited to join Hermann Scheer. He was a member of the German parliament. The two of us gave a presentation. Actually, we gave back-to-back presentations at a conference in Barcelona, Spain. And he told us all about his 100,000 rooftops program, which at that point was well underway in Germany. And he and I had lunch, and he told me at length about this program. Now, this isn't exactly how it got put into place. There were a lot of compromises and a lot of halfway measures, and it was, done in different ways in different parts of Germany. But the basic idea that he laid out to me over lunch was very straightforward. And this was because, Germany had just suffered Chernobyl. A lot of Chernobyl radiation ended up in Germany, and Germans were like, get rid of the nuclear power plant. And in fact, they're closing their last one next year. So the question was, how do we replace all that electricity? So here was Scheer's idea. Have the banks loan money to every homeowner that has a roof with a south-facing surface, which is, probably about half the houses in Germany, maybe more. Have the banks loan them enough money to solarize their house, put solar panels on the roof and batteries in the basement. And have those bank loans be backstopped by the federal German government. So there's no risk to the banks, so they can do it at a very, very, very low interest rate, less than 1%. Then have the electric utilities pay what's called a feed-in tariff. It's actually a bonus, basically, to people who are using less electricity or selling electricity back into the utility grid. And that bonus should be equal, more or less, to the monthly payments on the solar system on your roof. So at the end of the 5 or 10 year mortgage period that it took you to pay off your solar system, the utility has given you enough extra money to pay for it, so you get basically a solar system for free. The utility gets a new source of electricity for a lower cost than it would cost them if they built a nuclear power plant. And I'm talking about all the homes that would equal the amount of power that a nuclear power plant creates. It would still be cheaper to solarize houses than to build a nuclear power plant. And they're going to last for 40, 50 years, even though the mortgage is only 5 or 10 years. So all these homeowners end up with free electricity basically for the rest of their lives. And, as I've told you before, you take a train across Germany. The one I regularly take is from Frankfurt to Kulmbach. It's east to west, or excuse me, west to east. And if I'm sitting on the north side of the train and looking up the hillsides as I go by, you see all these southern facing roofs, and they're all covered with solar panels all over Germany. In fact, more than 1 million homes now have been completely solarized in Germany as a result of Hermann Scheer's program. And it works really, really well. So what I'm saying is we just gave the power industry in this BIF bill $73 billion to modernize their electric transmission systems. How about localizing them as well? We have a long tradition in America from the 1600s until the 1890s of every house being its own power plant, essentially. Everybody was burning wood. In the 1890s, we started burning coal, but it really wasn't until the 1920s and 1930s that we started using electricity. The first big electric power plants were in the 1890s. Edison did one in New York City down on Pearl Street, and George Westinghouse did one at Niagara Falls, which he used to electrify the city of Buffalo. That was in 1898, as I recall, or in the late 1890s anyway. Maybe it was 1896. So, you know, this whole idea of central power generation by one company that owns all the power spreading out to everybody, that idea is only about 100 years old. It's relatively modern, relatively recent. Let's go back to the local generation that we had before that by putting rooftop panels on everybody's houses. What this would require is for our utilities to basically change their business model. They would have to go from a business model of, you know, we generate electricity and sell it to you, to we collaborate with you in generating electricity, and we run the smart grid that makes sure that even if your solar panels die, your home still has electricity. And just kind of maintain everything working for everybody. And so I'm suggesting that people contact their legislators and say, do something like this. You know, we just allocated $73 billion for the utilities. Let's have them use it to encourage rooftop solar, home solar. And by the way, Germany is at a latitude of Calgary, Alberta. And it's the cloudiest country in Europe. And they could pull this off in Germany successfully. We can do this here.